welcome to another edition of RedHawks Weekly. I'm Adam Chalifoux, and today joined by the skipper, Chris Coste. And Chris, it looks like you're rocking the Zoom in the automobile. Love that for you.
Yeah, even though it's not the nicest day, I still plan on going to the lake at some point a little bit later. Maybe hop on the pontoon with a sweatshirt and some sweatpants, put the top up, and still cruise around the lake. That's actually the hope.
Well, I like that. It sounds like, I don't know, I imagine that would be kind of relaxing. I know it's not your typical super sunny day, but that sounds pretty relaxing. Are you going to bring Summer with you too?
Oh yeah, summer will go everywhere we go. It doesn't matter the weather. If she can have a chance to get in the water, she's definitely going to jump in the
Love to hear it. So, Chris, you guys coming off a little bit of a break here, and I feel like your next game isn't for a couple days. I want to say that's on the 7th, and you guys have had such a, I almost want to call it brutal stretch as far as so many games in so few days. What's it like for you guys to kind of take a little break mentally, physically, etc.? How does that impact you guys and the team?
Yeah, this time of year when you have a break, it's both mental and physical. Guys heal up, even if they're not injured. Nobody's 100%. Pitchers always like the extra days off, especially this time of year. Early in the year, you don't want a lot of off days, but this time of year, off days for every team are incredibly valuable. And you're right. We had a lot of games in a short amount of time, and that was pretty much every team. So it's certainly not just us. And every team right now is trying to fight that dog days of summer, and certainly not a complaint by any means. We love what we do, but every now and then a stretch of off days, a Monday off day can totally change how your team plays, good or bad. And we haven't played the greatest lately, and we're about to turn this thing around pretty quick. We just need our hitters to get back on track. That happened.
And kind of going off that, you guys are 3-9 since the All Star break, but you've made some key acquisitions and some. I feel like it could be a quick little turnaround. What do you guys need to do to just get a few more wins? And I think you're just half a game out of that playoff spot, 4 games out of first place. But what can you guys do to collect a few more wins and climb back up into the playoff picture?
Yeah, the bottom line is the bats. The pitchers have kept us in there all year. The bats have been kind of up and down, and uh, the one thing that has kept us above water is our two-out production, two-out RBIs, things like that. And the problem is it's hard to rely on that the entire season. You really want your offense to be really competitive, innings 1 through 9, batters 1 through 9, and we just haven't hit that stage where everybody's clicking. We're kind of in that weird stage right now where we have about 7 guys who are kind of at a low point right now. And that's kind of what I meant when I said like maybe one off day can change that around. One swing, countless times in my own career where you go through a rough patch and one off day turns into maybe one lucky swing, and all of a sudden you go 15 for your next 30. So the bottom line for us is the pitchers are going to keep us in a lot of games, but our bats definitely have to get better.
One bat that's been hot so far, just 3 games into this season, but you guys bring back a familiar face in Alec Oland, batting 375 through his first 3 games back with the RedHawks. Extensive history with the team. What went into bringing him back, and where was he?
Well, he was in the Frontier League, so a league similar to ours, but he was a little bit closer to home. He's from Ohio, went to Purdue, and had a chance to play a little bit closer to home. And when we had a chance to acquire him, towards the end of the season, we were going to do it. And he doesn't need to come to us and be an all-star. He just needs to be himself. If we get the guy that we had last year, he's going to be a nice addition for us, not just offensively. He does amazing things offensively. He gets on base. He can run around the bases, but defensively, I believe last year he broke the assist record. So, as an outfielder, so he gives us that little boost as well. And there's familiarity there too. He was with us for our championship team in 2022 as well. So he knows exactly what we're trying to do in Fargo and what the goals are. He knows all of the guys on the team for the most part. So it's an easy addition when you have a guy who checks off all those boxes. Because when you do bring in new guys, even when they do gel, it's a new environment. It's a little strange, but Alec Oland, it's a guy like him won't miss a beat. He's a nice addition to help us get back to where we need to be.
And then another guy who could come back. We talked last week, and you said, I believe, and I'm gonna pull up my camera to quote. You said this close, using my fingers there to quote your sign language, if you will, but that close to bringing back the all-time leader in hits, Leo Pena, which no matter where you plug him, I feel like would just be a huge impact. How close are you guys to bringing Pena back at this point?
Yeah, the situation with Leo kind of took a little bit different turn. And his season in Mexico, he had a great season in Mexico, and he's just a little bit banged up. He needed a little bit more rest. He really wanted to come back, but for his family and for his own physical health, he's going to play winter baseball in Venezuela in
Okay.
about 6 weeks. So he just couldn't risk it with the hamstrings and the arm, things like that. So that kind of fell through, but now we're really close to trying to bring Manny Boscon back, who's a very similar type player, a guy who plug in everywhere and left-handed bat, can run on the bases, do a lot of good things for us. And even if we are able to bring Manny back, we probably won't be done. There's not going to be a ton of moves to make. We actually have the guys on the roster that we need to win a championship with. It's more so let those guys get hot. So in addition to Manny Boscon, maybe one more. And then you never know. Dylan Thomas is probably our biggest X factor. He's been on the injured list with that wrist, and he's starting to swing the bats. So that could hopefully come back to help us really quick. And if we got to be a little bit longer with him, so be it. But the biggest addition we can make, honestly, is Dylan Thomas to our offense. So he's one of those guys. It's kind of like Ryan Howard, a teammate that I had with the Phillies way back when. Even when he doesn't get hits, he just makes everyone around him better. So Manny Boscom would be a massive addition for us, but nothing would be bigger than getting Dylan Thomas back.
And if you were, I was going to ask this about Pena, but I feel like you can really ask the same question with Boscan. Both guys who I feel like the last few years have been among the league leaders, not just team leaders in batting average, and can kind of play all over the infield. So if you were able to bring Boscan back, where would he slide in? Like, would he be a starting player, do you think, or someone you can kind of use anywhere? What would that look like?
It'd be very similar to the Manny Boscon we had in the past. It's a situation where he'll play some second base, maybe some first base, depending on what the outfield situation looks like. Having Marcus Chu being able to play first base and outfield gives us flexibility. So Manny can play literally anywhere on the field that you need him. He's not the best outfielder, but he could play outfield pretty well if he had to. You could put him at third base, he could be a gold glover. You put him at second base, he's amazing. You put him at first base, it's incredible. And then he can also catch, which is also another one of those things. And he wouldn't primarily catch for us. He may not catch at all, but having that flexibility to add a third catcher who can go back there and do amazing things, it's hard to really put a value amount on that. So Manny would bat right up towards the top of our lineup, whether that's second, third, fifth, what have you. But the flexibility that he brings defensively, when we added him a few years back, it became pretty clear that his value is far more than just whatever statistics he could put up. Statistics are important. Things that show up in box scores are important. But the things that he does behind the scenes that don't show up in box scores are why, regardless of what his stats say, he's an MVP type player at our level.
And now I can't believe I'm saying this just because the summer has just flown by, but we're under a month left in the regular season. And I
Yeah.
imagine that, the priority's got to be having guys healthy at the right time. It's one of those situations you get in and the magic can happen then, but you want to get in healthy. Still kind of waiting on Feldman. And as you mentioned, Dylan Thomas coming back. seems like kind of an ongoing situation, but do you have any new information that you can share with us?
Yeah, not really, just because we don't have much. Feldman's going to see a doctor about the elbow again, and there's a lot of positivity there. So doesn't seem to be some significant structural damage in the elbow. He's a pitcher that really can snap that ball, and that puts a lot of torque on the elbow. So maybe some time off for him will be good, because Feldman is kind of a lot like what I described about Manny Boska on the pitching side, or Dylan Thomas from the pitching side, where even when he's not doing amazing, he just makes everyone around him better. When Davis Feldman steps on the mound, everybody just feels better about the situation. Everyone feels more confident, and it just leads to more wins. And so getting Davis Feldman back and getting him healthy by the playoffs, there's not many starters in this league that bring to the table what he brings. So if we want to win a championship, Davis Feldman's a big part of that. So that's a big one. And then there's also Evan Alexander. He had that concussion, a few days back. And that's always a gray area when you deal with concussions. And so we'll see where that leads us in the next week. Maybe it takes 2 weeks. We'll see. But a guy like Evan hasn't had the greatest season, but when he's feeling good and going well, he's a high impact player. So that's another guy who could kind of sneak up and help us win a championship as well.
And then next, you guys, after this little break, you got Gary South Shore coming up. What are your thoughts on the matchup?
Yeah, we just got done playing them right after the All-Star break, and we ended up winning 2 out of 3, but they are a really good team. They haven't had a great year. They have had a really up and down year. Early in the year, their offense was incredible. Their pitching was not. Now it's kind of a little bit different, where their offense has gone down just a little bit. Pitching's got better. So it's one of those situations where I think game one, they beat us 10-0. Then we turn around and beat them pretty good the next 2 days. So it's a situation where you can't take anyone lightly based on the record. We just lost 2 out of 3 to Country, who's in 5th place in their division. And Lake Country is definitely not a 5th place type team. So everybody in our league is really good, really solid. Everyone's got good pitching. Everyone's got a middle of the order that can hit 100-mile-an-hour fastballs and curveballs. So it certainly won't be easy, but it's a situation where we can beat anybody. We can also lose to anybody with our bats being cold. So I'll say it again, this off day hopefully gets our bats back on track, because that is the one thing that we have to do better to win a championship. Now, the playoffs are still a little bit of ways away and things can change a lot, but we have to get our bats back.
And I got one more for you. Just on that note, one guy who's kind of doing a lot of damage lately, I want to say 3 homers in the last 7 games, is Drew Ward. And I feel like he's got 8 on the season off the top of my head. And so that's almost half his homers just in this last stretch. Is Drew starting to look like vintage Drew Ward right now?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because he's another guy that even when he's not doing great, he makes everyone around him a little bit better. So when he's actually producing like he's doing, that's a great sign. He's heated up a little bit, and he just happens to be one of those guys who's a really good hitter who just happens to have power. So when he hits home runs, people just think it's normal, but he's not so much a home run hitter as when he gets hot, he gets big hits, he hits hard ground balls, he hits deep fly balls and everything between. So if he can minimize the strikeouts a little bit and put the bat on the ball, he's such a dangerous guy. He's that guy that when the other team looks at our lineup, you have to look at Juan Fernandez. He's incredibly hot. Izzy Alcantara, for example. But with the game on the line, that number 4 hitter, Drew Ward, is so dangerous that they're going to try to match up their best lefty out of the bullpen against Drew Ward, and Drew Ward's going to have to find ways to succeed in those situations. So Drew Ward is a big factor for us as well.
And Fernandez batting a clean 500 over the last 7 games for you guys. So hopefully some of that hot batness gets a little contagious around the clubhouse. Chris, anything else you'd like to touch on before we let you go?
No, I think we're good. It's just a matter of refining our roster, getting the bats consistently hot, 1 through 9, and like I said, our pitching's going to be there. We're continually making these little small moves and guys a little bit of rest. And so It's going to be a really fun August. We're going to be in good shape. There's no reason to push the panics, but yet, because I'll say again, we currently have the guys on a roster that can help us win a championship. The addition of Manny Boscon, hopefully, will be a big one. And then the guys that we have on the injured list. So the bottom line is the guys we currently have under control on our roster, if they get hot and do what they're supposed to do, hopefully we're getting fitted for rings in a month.
Love to hear that. And they'll be back to action on the 7th against Gary South Shore. Adam Chalifoux with Chris Coste. That's all for now on RedHawks Weekly. Don't forget to tune in on My 365 11.4 if you can't make it to Newman or you want to catch all those road games. Jack Michaels and the crew doing an exceptional job on the television broadcast. Chris, thank you so much for joining me.